Thank you, everybody, for coming back to the Riggs Beast channel. As always, let's go beast on that subscribe button. Let's go beast on that like button. And let's go beast on this WrestleMania 33 review, which came to you from Orlando, Florida, at the Citrus Bowl. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start right now with the main event. We're not going to wait. Roman Reigns and The Undertaker. We predicted that Roman Reigns would win. I think a lot of people saw Roman winning. And let's go through the match. Let's just get through it right now. It was changed to no holds barred, which threw me off a little bit. Was surprising, was announced during Roman Reigns' entrance. They took advantage of it to a degree. Taker comes up through the ramp itself. He's not going to walk the 85 yards. That wasn't going to happen. The match starts. Taker throws him out quick twice, yelling at him, "Still my yard." So we are going with the my yard scenario, which we didn't like to begin with here on the channel. I still didn't like it. Taker's going to get the early offense. Roman is getting hated and cheered every time he gets hit. This was not surprising. This was to be expected. Roman actually played the heel in this match. He played it well. Facial expressions, rolling out of the ring at times he needed to. He played it off well. I give him kudos for that. Wasn't a heel turn. They didn't do a heel turn. I'm going to reveal that now. Nothing like that. He just played the heel for the match. They work to the outside. Reigns is going to run at Taker, try to leap through the air. He's going to get caught in midair and chokeslammed onto an announce table. Taker then gets up on the Spanish announce table as if he's going to try to tombstone him. Boom! Reigns spears him through that table. Now Reigns gets back in the ring. Taker then sits up. As he's getting in the ring, though, Reigns gets him. He gets the punches in the quarter, standing up. You know what's happening when that does. Last ride by The Undertaker, 2 count. Taker then begins beating Reigns with a chair. Reigns gets through it. Superman punch. Superman punch again. The third one gets countered to a chokeslam on the chair. 2 count. Undertaker then hits a tombstone. Kick out. They screw up a spot where Reigns was going to reverse Taker into a tombstone. Reigns couldn't get him up, so he just throws a Superman punch at him. 2 count. Reigns then goes for a spear. He goes to cover him. Gets him in the Hell's Gate. Nothing happens. Reigns gets to the ropes. As The Undertaker then is crawling slowly to the chair, he reaches out for it. He grabs it. Reigns steps on it. Stops him. Reigns then begins to beat Taker with the chair. He hits a second spear. Taker kicks out. He then hits a third spear. Taker kicks out. Taker then on his knees, yelling at Roman, "You have to finish me. You have to put me down." Reigns does a super spear. He runs the ropes twice, hits him. Reigns wins. Roman has beaten The Undertaker. Now, the announcers didn't really treat this like this monumental feat. They really didn't, even with Jim Ross there. Didn't treat it like a monumental feat. I was a little surprised by that, but I think I get why after the post-match. Reigns leaves. They have the fireworks. He stands there, raises his arms, and leaves. Post-match, you get a thank you Taker chant starting. He sits up. They go to the video recap of the match. When they come back, Taker is standing there, hat, gloves, coat, the whole deal. Stands around a bit, takes off one glove, puts it down. Takes off his second glove, puts it down. Takes off his coat, folds it neatly, puts it down. Takes off the hat, puts it down. Rolls the eyes back. Gets out of the ring. And for the first time on TV as The Undertaker, as the dead man, he breaks character. He kisses his wife. He walks up the ramp to where he ascended. He raises his arm. He descends. The lights go out. There's a couple dongs of the bell. And WrestleMania goes off the air. They made it feel like a funeral. The Undertaker's storied 30-plus year career, this is going beyond WWE, WWF, is over. It needed to be over. The man needs a hip surgery. The man needs a new hip. It's like we said on the preview show. When it's staring you right in the face and you know you have to pull the trigger, do you pull it anyway? There are a lot of people who will say he was old and he needed to move on, and in theory, they're right. They're correct. But Old Yeller had rabies too. And Old Yeller needed to be shot. Did you still have second thoughts when the kid went to shoot him? It's the same theory here. Now, I want to celebrate The Undertaker. See, I'm 32, which means I grew up with this guy. I grew up with this character. The first video I ever made on this channel, I talked about how important characters are, and there was no singular better character than The Undertaker. And for that, I know this is a small channel. I'm not sure how many others will do this, so I'm going to do it here. We're going to simply say, thank you, Taker. Thank you for being in our lives. Thank you for bringing the entertainment, the passion, the suspense, the drama that you did, and showing everybody what you can do and how great of a career you can have. Thank you, Mr. Calloway. Thank you, Undertaker. Now we review WrestleMania, and let's go over the match itself. The match itself was not very good. You couldn't expect much from a 50-plus-year-old man with a very bad hip and Roman Reigns, who, quite frankly, is a decent wrestler but cannot carry a match. That's why his best matches are with guys like Finn Balor, AJ Styles, etc. He has the best matches with the best wrestlers he cannot carry. Now, the trigger's been pulled. The Undertaker's been beaten. 1, 2, 3. I mentioned earlier they didn't make it feel as important, and they didn't. And that was a little bit of a problem to me. Now, the follow-up, before I completely shit on it, and you will have people shit on it, and again, I can't even necessarily blame them. It's either an act or emotion or just raw emotion. But you need to see the follow-up before you completely shit on it. Now, my view, by the end of tomorrow night, we're going to be able to shit on it. But until then, I will wait. I will not jump the gun and say that this is some desperate attempt to see if this will get Roman babyface attention. I don't even think that's what they're thinking, but I think a lot of people are going to think that's what they're thinking. So we'll save that for tomorrow. But now we're going to go over the rest of the card, and this is a tale of two WrestleManias. WrestleMania pre-musical performance, WrestleMania post-musical performance. We're going to go all the way back to the kickoff show, though, because quite frankly, this was over 7 hours, guys. 7 fucking hours. That's a lot of goddamn wrestling. But the whole night started with Neville and Austin Aries on the kickoff show. It was a nice slow start. It honestly tells you that being on the pre-show, they were going to give them time, but both wrestlers held something back. This isn't the only match. We predicted that. This is a Raw pay-per-view match waiting to happen, I assume, at Payback. About 2 minutes in, though, they had a network commercial. I mean, really? We're going to have network commercials during your matches at WrestleMania, even though they're on the kickoff show? Come on, guys. Can we avoid this? The set, by the way, I want to say is fucking incredible. They did a great job with that. Got to give them credit where it's due. That shit looked amazing. Getting back to the match, the guys had some spots, but it was a mostly methodical wrestling match, which I kind of expected. Neville did a snap German suplex on Aries. It looked scary because the man landed on his head. Got nervous for a second. He was going to be a paraplegic. He was all right, though. He was all right. A little woozy, but he was all right. At the end of the match, though, Aries hits his discus 5-arm, a 450, kick out. Neville's in the last chancery. He rakes the fixed orbital eye socket, hits the red arrow. Neville wins and retains the Cruiserweight Championship. The Andre Memorial Battle Royal. Fuck this shit. They threw it away for Rob Gronkowski. Mojo Rawley wins. Was long and boring. This one bothered me. Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin got moved to the pre-show. When I go over the second half of Mania, you'll see why I'm upset. Number one, don't book 15 fucking matches if you're not going to have the proper timing. Number two, these two were having a good rivalry until you threw it away on the last SmackDown before Mania because you had this planned. If you hadn't booked so many matches, which you didn't need 15, I'm sorry, you could have put this on the main show. But once this was on the pre-show, there's no reason to change title. There's no reason to have a title change. So the match was a slow-paced physical match. Corbin focused a lot of the offense on the ribs, playing on the story that they had, and the beginning of the match where Ambrose went ribs first into the post. The crowd, honestly, is mostly getting situated, so they're dead for this. But the match, honestly, was a nice, methodical, good physical match. The finish goes when Corbin is going to hit the end of days. It's countered into Dirty Deeds. 1, 2, 3. Ambrose retains. Like I said, once it was on the pre-show, why bother having a title change? Not surprised once I saw that Ambrose wins. Again, this feels like it's going to go to the SmackDown pay-per-view. There we will see Dean Ambrose lose the Intercontinental Championship. So we're going to start the main show with the New Day in a Final Fantasy-themed warrior outfits looking ridiculous. It was funny. Looking ridiculous. Only thing of note here is Big E says it's time to pull their levers. I'm sorry, every time Xavier Woods is in the ring and you have a sex joke, I'm a laugh. But that's really it. They welcome you to Mania. AJ Styles and Shane McMahon opens the show. I predicted Kevin Owens and Jericho would open. I was perfectly okay with this opening because, again, fierce rivalry, even though brief. And you knew this match could start it off right, and it did. AJ and Shane, honestly, we're having an actual wrestling match. Back and forth holds, counters to counters. AJ made Shane look like a legit seasoned veteran wrestler. Shane did his part in this match, don't get me wrong, but if AJ now isn't in the main event next year or close to it, something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong. AJ does a baseball slide to Shane, which sends him over the announce desk. They work their way back in the ring. AJ counters, gets into a half Styles clash. Shane's able to kick out. He goes for his coast to coast. He gets 2 garbage cans. Kind of ruined this. Shane counters it, hits him with the garbage can. Then Shane does the coast to coast. It looked like that's it. Nope, 2 count. Shane countered the phenomenal forearm into a beautiful float over DVT. Went for a shooting star press. Missed it. Phenomenal 1 forearm. AJ Styles wins. Honestly, if you want to be real here, the best wrestling match of the night was AJ Styles and Shane McMahon. It really was. And did we not predict that this match would not only steal the show, but make you okay to a degree with AJ being in this match? Honestly, wrestling match of the night, AJ Styles, Shane McMahon. The second match you get, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho. By the way, Chris Jericho had a light up scarf, like his old jacket with the neon lights. Now you have the scarf and a giant blow up list. Love the entrance. Jericho, he always nails entrances. They start with the fast punches you see with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Then all of a sudden, boom, walls of Jericho really quickly. This match went from fast to slow to fast to slow. It was nice pacing, physicality. It knew when to get up. It knew when to get down. They had a nice little spot where Kevin Owens attempts a frog splash, knees up. Lion Salt, knees up. Swanton Bomb by Owens, knees up. Then Jericho counters a pop-up powerbomb into the Lion Salt, 2 count. Finally, we get out of the knees up. Owens then actually gets Jericho into the walls of Jericho. Jericho gets to the ropes. Owens eventually gets out of a move Jericho's in, gets a pop-up powerbomb, 2 count. Goes for a second pop-up powerbomb, which is counted into the code breaker. Owen gets 1 knuckle on the rope for a 2 count. 1 knuckle, just 1 little knuckle. Jericho coming back out from the outside, gets caught in the ropes. He kicks him in the leg. He hits the apron powerbomb. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens is your new United States champion. Great match. Probably second best match of the night. I think it was better than Triple H and Rollins. So yeah, this is the second best match of the night. So first and second best matches of the night were the first and second matches on the card. Next, you're going to have the Raw Women's title match. And they all start going after Nia to start, but Nia dominates every single one of them. She does a bonsai drop on Bayley. I thought that was a little funny. Eventually, they still attack her again. They pull off a big boot into a double back suplex. Charlotte hits the big boot. Bayley and Sasha do the double suplex. Nia, though, again powers on them. She goes for a second bonsai drop on Sasha, but all 3 women powerbomb, and they all cover to eliminate Nia. This was quick, but they were fair with Nia. They made her look fucking dominant, and it took all 3 to beat her. I'd be okay with it. Sasha was eliminated like 3 minutes later. It was very odd. She was covering Charlotte. She's kicked out of it. She's kicked into the ropes. Now, they tried to say that the turnbuckle was exposed. It wasn't. And she lost. I don't know if this was meant to happen. Maybe it was, and I'm overreading it. But it damn sure felt like something fucked up happened here. So Charlotte and Bayley are your final 2. And uneventfully, Bayley wins with the Macho Man elbow. No Bayley to belly. The Macho Man elbow. Okay. Bayley wins. Bayley's your women's champion still. The whole match seemed odd and off. They threw away the SmackDown women for this, and this match, uneventful, boring, not good at all. Next, we had the triple threat tag title match. Or was it? Didn't find out till today that WWE was meeting with the Hardys. They had a car for them at their event. They did officially sign, and this became a fatal four-way tag team title match as the New Day came out, acted like they were going to be in the match, and boom, the Hardys are back. There was some confusion as to if they're playing the broken gimmick. They're playing the broken gimmick. They just used the old Hardy music. You can see with a laugh Matt was doing. So the Broken Hardys on their Expedition of Gold have now gone after the Ragtag Team titles. Are they going to win them? The match itself, it's a typical clusterfuck ladder match. What are you going to do? They had two ladders set up on the outside. You knew it wasn't ending until then. They got a 20-foot ladder there too. I wonder who's jumping off of that one. Jeff does his Jeff thing. Swantons off of it onto Sheamus and Cesaro. Matt Hardy gets the belts. The Broken Hardys are now your Raw Tag Team Champions. Let's go over this real quick. Last month, TNA champs, Ring of Honor champs until yesterday, Raw champs today. They have held the three American Wrestling Company's major titles in 1 month. The Broken Hardys Expedition of Gold, it's going A-OK. After this, Cena and Nikki versus Miz and Maurice. Nobody cared about the match. We're just waiting for it to be over. They do John Cena's double 5-knuckle shuffle. They both pin Miz and Maurice. And guess what happened, folks? John Cena proposed to Nikki Bella. I'm not going to shit on it, because if it's real, I would feel bad. But who didn't see that coming? Next, Triple H versus Seth Rollins. This is the main event of the first half of WrestleMania. I like to think they break WrestleMania into two halves when they have musical performances. You have your first half, then you have your intermission, musical performance, then you have your second half. So this is the main event of the first half. Triple H's entrance, pretty fucking cool. He has Steph on the back of a tripod bike, all decked out in his type of shit, with a police escort. Seth's entrance, actually, he's coming out with a torch, passing of the torch reference, anybody, puts it to the ground and lights fire on the ramp, which the ramp had different effects, lights it all the way to the ring. Around the ring then has video fire. They had the ability to send video from the top down into the ring. This is used a lot later, and showed fire in the ring. Really cool looking shit. They start with the hot start you needed to have. Seth getting the advantage. Does 2 straight suicide dives. Crazy. They play up the knee, but this man was like gung-ho. Seth tries for a suplex on the table they have set up. Triple H counters into a DDT. Triple H starts going after the knee with a chair. A lot of this match is Triple H going after the knee. They actually have a spot where Triple H was going to try for a superplex. He stops it. Rollins goes for the sunset powerbomb he did on Kane when he tore his knee up. He pretends to hurt his knee again there. Triple H thinks he has him. Eventually, Seth gets him and buckle bombs him. Interesting they did that. Triple H then rolls outside. Seth Rollins does a dive from the post to Triple H outside. Again, selling the knee. Selling the knee. Very important. Rollins starts getting chairs, puts him in the ring. This is where he sets up the actual table on the outside. He tried earlier to get him on the announcer's table. Triple H, though, stops him, gets him in the single leg submission on the outside. Rollins is just throwing shit at him from under the ring. He just happens to throw the sledgehammer at him, but that just goes a little bit to the left. A little unclever with that. Triple H, though, lets it go then when he sees it, grabs the sledgehammer. Seth, though, gets the advantage on him outside. Triple H gets the pedigree, though, 2 count. Seth gets back the advantage, fights it, gets a Phoenix Splash. 2 count. They fucked with you with that Phoenix Splash. Then they go through a series of counter pedigrees. This lasted nearly 30 seconds where they both would get it counter. Both would get it counter. It ends up with Triple H again going back to that knee. At this point, Stephanie gets on the ring apron to try to distract Seth. Seth moves. Triple H almost hits his wife, stops, goes after Seth, says bumps Triple H into Steph, who goes through that table which was set up. Boom, Triple H is pissed. Turns around, pedigree, 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins beats Triple H. No interference. No Samoa Joe tonight, which is very surprising, to be honest. If anything, I would have expected Joe in this match. I know at Access, Joe's VIP was a lot smaller than anticipated, and I really wonder if that had something to do with changing a little bit of these plans. If they did, that's very disappointing. But no Joe on WrestleMania? Very, very disappointed by that. So then you get your musical performance, and to this point, WrestleMania is a very good show. All right? I don't care what anybody else tells you who listens to my voice. To this point, WrestleMania was a damn good show. But we're going to go off the fucking rails. Now, my personal main event, for anybody who listens to me, I was all about Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. They do the quick hot start. Randy goes for the RKO. Bray gets out. Bray gets an advantage then, does his corner bend where he bends his head down. And then all of a sudden, maggots are shown with red lighting in the ring. Remember earlier I talked about they can send video down. It was like, what the fuck is this? The crowd's like, what the fuck is this? It just looks creepy as hell. It's good. It's awesome, to be honest. They wrestle a little bit again. Does it a second time. Now it's Dirty Worms. What the fuck? Randy's playing confused. The announcers are playing confused. The crowd doesn't know what's going on. Ray's dazed and outside. Bray's running up to him. Boom, RKO. Randy gets Bray back in the ring. Randy goes to set up for an RKO again. That's counting to his sister Abigail. 2 count. Bray does his backward bend again. Now they're cockroaches. What the fuck? All of a sudden, it's just an RKO by Orton, and Orton wins. This was incredibly underwhelming. Even with the video and even with all the crazy shit that was going on in the ring, this match went about 10, 12 minutes and didn't come together well at all. That's going to be a common theme for everything leading up to Taker and Roman. And that I truly believe is there was timing issues, and that anything close to Taker and Roman was not going to surpass that. They were not going to risk anything taking the crowd away from Taker and Roman. So what I believe has been the best story in the company, the best story in WWE, suffered greatly from this match. This match, incredibly disappointing. Can they have another rematch at the SmackDown pay-per-view? I believe they will. And hopefully they make up for this shit show, because this was shit. Except for the weird, creepy stuff, this was shit. They better make up for it. Next, you're going to get Brock and Goldberg. I had it at 3 minutes. A buddy of mine corrected me, said it was near 5. Okay, give him 4. Who gives a fuck? We'll move on. Real quick. 3 Germans by Brock. Goldberg spears him. Brock then rolls out of the ring. Goldberg spears him through a barricade. In the ring, Goldberg goes for a jackhammer. It's reversed to an F5. Kicked out of that into a spear. Gets the jackhammer. 2 count. Oh my God, he kicked out of the jackhammer. 7 more German suplexes and an F5. Brock is your new Universal Champion about 4 minutes. Honestly, probably the best match they could have had. I can't even lie. What else can you expect these guys to do? Brock can at least wrestle someone. Goldberg's 50 and got nothing. There you go. And then the last match before Taker and Roman was the SmackDown 6-Packs Women title match. It was a clusterfuck. Naomi won with a submission. That's all I can say. I thought they'd give it to Carmella here. Again, its timing indicated differently. I thought this would be earlier in the show. That's why I went with Carmella. When you have it right before your main event, and especially when everybody kind of knew Taker was retiring, you're not going to have a heel win anything. Babyface goes over, and then it's Taker and Roman like we discussed at the start. Like I started the show. WrestleMania, it's a tale of 2 WrestleManias. Pre-musical performance, post-musical performance. The WrestleMania pre-musical performance was a kick-ass quality WrestleMania. Reminded me a lot of WrestleMania 31. Post-musical performance, this shit went to WrestleMania 32 all over again. Matches didn't make any sense, came off bad. You knew Taker and Roman wasn't necessarily going to be a good match. You just hoped it would be more eventful. And the announcers, even with Jim Ross there, and I can't blame Jim Ross. The man just lost his wife a week ago. He did the best that I think he could in the scenario. But nobody sold the Roman win as this huge, enormous thing that it was. I believe they're going to do it on Raw, don't get me wrong. But at the moment, you would think, for that moment, they would sell it as this big deal. But I think they all knew it was coming next and kind of let the fan in them out like we did in us. So how do you grade WrestleMania? How do you look at this event? How do you judge it? I'm struggling to do that. I'm going to give it 2 grades. Pre-musical performance, 7. The Raw women's match sucked. Miz and Maurice was what it was, but everything before it was great. It was going so well. Post, 3. You took one of the great stories and you sacrificed it with horrible booking of the match. Goldberg and Brock was never going to be good, but they did the best that they could for what they do. Your SmackDown Women's title match was just thrown in there to give you a gap between the final 2 matches. And then Taker and Roman, you kind of figured Roman was winning, but the way they did it, the way they booked it, sucked the life out of you. You had no raw emotion after it. Now, this is the 7th hour we're asking people to watch wrestling. So that could have been a reason the emotion was sucked. I will be very interested to see what happens on Raw with Roman. Before I can truly shit on that match, I want to see what happens with Roman on Raw. Overall, I gave the first half a 7, second half a 3. Let's go in the middle. WrestleMania 33 is a 5. Average. And that's going to do it for WrestleMania 33's review and results show. As always, let's go beast on that subscribe button. Let's go beast on that like button. And tonight, we're not going to keep it beast. Tonight, we're going to simply say, thank you, Undertaker.